And just like that, it has been 1 full year already. What is going on, all you friends, true believers, and newcomers alike? I'm Superfly Comics Guy, and yup, this is the 1 year anniversary of the first video on this channel, so I thought, what better way to mark the occasion than by taking a look at Ultimate Spider-Man Omnibus Volume 2. We'll be taking a look at the cover, the spine, the contents collected, the build quality, and of course a flip through where I can share my oh so many thoughts, opinions, and recommendations on this series. So I hope you'll stay tuned. I hope you'll leave a like if you enjoy the video, and leave a comment if you want to share any of your thoughts. But yeah, man, this is going to be a feel-good video, so let's just get right into it. So as you can see here, I've got the Mark Bagley Direct Market variant cover, the Carnage cover here. I thought it would go nicely with the Venom Volume 1 cover that I have, so that's why I went with this. But if you're not a fan of this, there's also a standard cover by Mark Bagley and another Direct Market variant cover by John Cassaday. Let me show you the spine here. There it is. Another Bagley Spidey there at the bottom. And then the back, you got your ultimate cover gallery. And I love some of these covers so much. Cover price of $125 US, $156.25 Canadian. This omnibus collects Ultimate Spider-Man number 40 through 71 and the Ultimate 6 number 1 through 7. Let's show you under the dust jacket here. There you are. So if you didn't see already, here is the standard cover for this omnibus that we have on the board. Let me show you the spine again, because this time we got a slightly different image of Spidey here, but the rest is pretty much the same. And then the back, got a different Bagley image, but a gorgeous one at that. So much emotion and atmosphere all in one cover. I love it. But let me start taking you through the contents here. So, opening up this book, let's have a look. Here we are. Got some of the credits here. But also, it serves as a bit of a contents page as well, so you just know what to expect. And also pretty helpful here, you got a bit of a recap page in case it's been a while since you've read Volume 1. So yes, it will spoil Volume 1 for you, but all you really need to know is that this happens after the Venom arc from Volume 1. But yeah, man, holy crap, 1 year on YouTube already for this channel. Does not feel like it's been that long, but seeing as how my first video was Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 1, and it's one of my favorite series of all time, I thought it only made sense to mark the occasion by looking at Volume 2 here. And I'll be honest, this is just going to be a feel-good video. I'm just going to take my time, relish in the artwork, the story. So if you want to watch the full thing, you are more than welcome to. Sit along, listen to my thoughts. But otherwise, if you just want the TLDR version, I highly, highly recommend this amazing series. It's so good. Perfect introduction to comics if you've never read one before, or a perfect way to get into Spidey if you're a fan of the movies or something. But yeah, man, I'm going to take my time with this one, really enjoy it. But yeah, the Ultimate Universe. So if you're not familiar with the Ultimate line, normally I'd say something like, oh, check out my Volume 1 review, because I talk about it there. Which I do, but honestly, it's been so long since my Volume 1 review. I don't know if I feel like subjecting some of you guys to that embarrassment. It's been a while. I've changed a lot of things about how I do things on the channel, so it's a bit of an out-of-date video, but everything I said there still applies. But anyway, I'll still go over it here. So the whole Ultimate series was kind of started in the early 2000s. The whole Marvel's comic history had gotten so convoluted by that point that new readers were just far too intimidated to dive in. So the point of Ultimate Spider-Man was like, hey, let's create a series that can exist separately from the main continuity and just serve as a really easy jumping on point for people to get into comics and start reading Spider-Man, for example. And that's exactly what it did. It was like a modern retelling of some of Spidey's classic stories. And it worked, man. This thing was selling because it had the benefit of like having all this history of the character to choose from, but they could basically pick all the greatest hits and just add modern twists here and there. So you'll be familiar with a lot of these characters, but there'll be just slight differences, enough to like keep you on your toes. So we're dealing with a younger Spider-Man here. It focuses on his early years, his high school years. So he's more brash. He's getting into trouble both as Peter and as Spidey. It's honestly really reminiscent of like kind of how he was in the Silver Age, where he has a bit of an attitude to him, a bit of a suppressed frustration, an anger to him that's like ready to come out at any point. There's so many good things about this series, man. Like, oh, gorgeous. Peter and MJ's relationship in this is so awesome. I love them. The best way to describe it is like they're just delightfully awkward together. They're like trying to figure out their relationship, but they'll be like stumbling over their words. It just feels so genuine and natural. I know some people don't like that style of writing, Bendis's style of writing, where characters stumble over their words, but I like it. It adds a believability to these characters. Something else people often complain about was like the Bendis talking heads that he does, where it's like sometimes you'll just have panels going back and forth of like characters' heads in the panel and that's it, just speech bubbles back and forth. But honestly, man, that never bothered me. Honestly, I never even noticed until people started to point it out. But there's so many things about the Ultimate Universe that I just think work better compared to the 616 universe, the main universe, that is. Like, Aunt May is so much better in here compared to the main universe, at least in my opinion, from what I've read. Like, there's so much more depth to her. You understand a lot more about where her concerns lie, why she acts the way she does towards Peter. And, you know, she's more so like the cool, fun aunt in this one. It's really heartwarming and endearing. But also the characterization of Spider-Man, I think, is really well done here. Especially during moments like he doesn't always save the day just by punching things. Sometimes he can solve problems he can help someone just by talking to them. And that to me is like the essence of Spider-Man, the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He doesn't have to solve all his problems with violence. But in this specific volume, man, you're getting so many iconic stories. As you might have seen, this is I think the first time that the Ultimate X-Men show up in Spider-Man. There's that iconic moment with Jean Grey when Spidey first meets her. If you don't know what it is, I won't spoil it. It's definitely something you have to read for yourself the first time. But it's so funny. It definitely got a chuckle out of me. Here we're looking at the Ultimate 6 story. So this isn't Mark Bagley art. This is Trevor Hairsine, I think, is his name. I didn't really dig the art during this portion. The characters in general kind of had a potato face syndrome in terms of how they were drawn. Where literally, I mean, just it looks like every character's face just looks like a potato. Definitely preferred Mark Bagley's art to this art. But in terms of the story, the Ultimate 6 story was pretty fun. It's basically just the Ultimate Universe's version of the Sinister Six. Other iconic stories in here that you're getting. There's some great development with the Kingpin versus Spidey story that's ongoing. Peter's young. He's struggling with the idea that someone like the Kingpin can just walk free after all he's done after being convicted. So there's a lot of political issues in here, corruption, and all the fat jokes you can handle. But what I really, really like about the Kingpin arc is It's where J. Jonah Jameson gets a lot of development too. He's not just mindlessly angry at Spidey like he is in like the early days of the Silver Age, for example. He develops a lot. He grows a lot as a character. And his opinion on Spider-Man kind of changes as time goes on, and I really, really liked that. There's once again that iconic issue 50 cover. And of course, this is where we get the first appearance of Ultimate Black Cat, who's really, really well depicted in here, I think. I don't like this version of Black Cat as much as I do the main universe version of Black Cat. I think the costume isn't quite as good. I think it lacks sort of the elegance of the original. And sometimes she can be drawn a little weirdly with the mask and everything, and sometimes her proportions, but she's really cool. She's a really cool character. Another thing that happens in this volume is it kind of ties in with the Spider-Man movies, the Raimi movies that were being made around this time. So there'll be moments in here where like Peter will actually run into the filmmakers making Spider-Man the movie. And he's like, what the heck, guys? Like, you're just doing this without my permission. And they're like, well, we don't know who you are. Show us who you are and you can get some royalties or whatever. And he's like, you guys suck. You guys are the worst. That actually happens, those scenes actually play a larger role in here than I initially remembered. I thought it was just sort of like a quick reference, but no, you see them making the movie through, it's kind of ongoing as this book goes on. Doc Ock returns. So he was in the first volume, but he's back here, and man, Ultimate Doc Ock, they do a really good job of making him an intimidating force. Because you got to keep in mind, this is like, Peter's a kid. He's 15 years old in this, going up against these, just sinister adults, just absolute scum of the earth type people. Like the Kingpin, like Doc Ock, like Norman Osborn. And like some of the threats they make to him, it's like, yeah, you feel it. You worry for this guy. And of course, as the cover of My Dust Jacket implies, this is also where you get Ultimate Carnage as well, who's really, really cool. I don't like the origin as much of Carnage here in the Ultimate Universe compared to the main universe. Just like with Venom, they go for a more science-based approach in terms of explaining he's not even really a symbiote. I won't spoil it, but it's different from your main universe Carnage for sure. But still, he's drawn really, really cool. Let me see if I can find an image of him here. There he is. There he is, our boy, Ultimate Carnage. Look at how creepy that is, man. You gotta love Mark Bagley drawing Carnage. So you can see he's got the like life-stealing abilities. That actually kind of reminds me of a Carnage from the Spider-Man animated series, how he was like stealing the life force from people. Pretty crazy. But also, it's not all perfect stuff. There's some goofy moments in here as well. Like this section of the book here, which gets a little goofy. This is what's infamously known as like the face-off story, where, look, it's so goofy that even they had to throw in this panel of Brian Michael Bendis and Mark Bagley basically apologizing because they're like, look, this wasn't our idea. They told us to write this story. Basically, Spider-Man and Wolverine have a sort of face-off moment where they swap bodies. So Wolverine is in Peter's body, Peter is in Wolverine's body. And it's kind of just weird, quirky slapstick, but it's not just goofy, but I think the other reason why it doesn't work is where it's placed. This 2-issue story is placed right after a really hard-hitting emotional moment in the story. And to shift from that very intense emotional moment to this sort of goofy, weird terrible idea story. I don't know. It doesn't work. The pacing, it throws off the pacing too much. But other than that, this is like the only strange part of this omnibus. There are some funny moments here, like Wolverine trying to swing around and he just doesn't get the hang of it and he just sort of gets stranded on a single web. Like, there are funny moments, but it's just kind of strange. Oh, but speaking of other characters, obviously you're also gonna get a Johnny Storm, the Human Torch here, who appears.
Yo, 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 Spidey! Johnny Storm of the world-famous Fantastic Four. What on earth are you doing in Queens?
And of course, he just happens to go to the same school as Peter. Because, where else would he end up, right? But he's pretty cool. I found their sort of camaraderie to be pretty fun. But yeah, man, I just love Mark Bagley's work on Ultimate Spider-Man so freaking much. He's so good at capturing emotions, especially like facial expressions. And sometimes you'll have panels, entire stretches of panels without any dialogue, and it's just like facial expressions, but you can tell exactly what the characters are feeling in that moment, all thanks to Mark Bagley's art. And I'm sure Bendis had a huge hand in the paneling as well and the layouts, but still, man, it's so freaking good. And like the panels flow together so well. It's so easy to follow the flow of the story. It makes it feel so cinematic at times because it like you're watching a movie. It flows so seamlessly from one event to another. There's a great spread page of the Human Torch accidentally activating his powers. But yeah, man, such a feel-good series. One of my favorite series of all time. There aren't words that can describe how much I enjoy this specific series. It's such a blast to read. But just in case you forgot that this was a review, I can show you some of the extras in this book as well. Really cool. You get some deleted scenes here, actually. You don't often get those. But some scenes that were cut just because, I don't know, they didn't feel it really added enough to the story or it didn't flow well enough. But it's still cool to see. You also get character designs with Bagley's notes as well, which is really cool. Wilson Fisk, some of the enforcers here, Montana, Ox. Oh yeah, some of the early designs for the Black Cat where she like had a tail and everything. Yeah, I don't know. The original design is just so iconic and like untouchable to me that it's like any like alternate one, I'm just like, it's not as good. But the design that they went with in the end isn't that bad. I just prefer the main one. Ultimate Sandman, some of the X-Girls. Actually, yeah, these are like some unused pencils versus the used pencils that they ended up going with. And of course, some of the covers, the pencils that Bagley, but also John Cassaday did for some of the issues. Really, really cool. Like I said, I love the covers in Ultimate Spider-Man so much. As for the build quality here, the page count is listed at 984, and that is what your eye looks like. Pretty similar in quality to Volume 1, I found. I think they're printed at the same printer, actually. So, roughly the same page thickness, roughly the same amount of gutter loss. You'll find that there's more gutter loss towards the beginning and end of the book, but generally not too bad. You don't get page numbers, but it didn't really bother me just because like you can blaze through these issues so quickly. Seriously, it only took me like a few sessions to finish this book. And you also get that contents page at the beginning just in case you want to sort of plan out your reading. But yeah, generally pretty happy with the build quality. I didn't really notice any bleed through that often. The pages are on the thinner side, so sometimes you will get bleed through, but if you were fine with Volume 1, you'll probably be fine with this as well. But now it's time to wrap up with some closing thoughts, and well, if it wasn't obvious enough based on all the gushing I've been doing, This is one of my favorite series. Oh, screw it. This is my favorite comic series of all time. Still yet to be usurped. Ultimate Spider-Man. If you haven't read it before, if you're a fan of Spidey or you're curious to get into comics or something, you really owe it to yourself to at least give this a shot. I don't think Volume 2 is quite as strong as Volume 1. Volume 1 is just like those first 3 arcs are so iconic to me, but this is still really, really good. Bendis nails the character of Spider-Man, and the way Mark Bagley draws everything from the characters to the panel layouts, it's so freaking good, man. It just feels so cinematic. It understands everything about Spider-Man so well, and it has the benefit of being like a condensed version of the character's history. It just focuses on like the best stories from his history, but still giving it a modern twist, so it's like not as difficult to read as something like the Silver Age comics, for example. You can blaze through this. It's so good. I totally recommend it. If you're curious about starting to read Spider-Man comics, there really is no better place to start than by reading Ultimate Spider-Man. But that's been my review of the Ultimate Spider-Man Omnibus Volume 2, so let me know what you guys think about it. Leave your thoughts down below. And again, whether this is your first time watching a video on this channel, or you've been with me for a full year, thank you so much for watching. It really means a lot. It's been a wild ride, but I'm looking forward to putting out more stuff. So thank you so much for joining me today, guys. I hope to catch you in another video real soon. So you have yourself a great day. I've been Superfly Comics Guy, and until next time, you keep reading. Bye-bye, guys.